And I was like, that's cool.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Night Owl, and it is race number 2 of the season. I'm Jesse Lee here with Ryan Mawson and Nick Setnick, bringing you all of the cameras and action from today. And goodness me, it's almost like deja vu. We hope that you enjoyed our charity stream earlier in the day, and as promised, it is season competition here for Night Owl. Ryan, you were out on track earlier, and well, you did one of those actually.
Yes, hello everybody. Yeah, welcome back to Spa. Like I said, deja vu from earlier. And yes, welcome to Eau Rouge and spinning around. And now in Night Owl, it's the turn of the mid-engines, it seems, this time. The last race, we saw once again them having a very good performance. And so far, it looks on the board to be the Audi trio. I mean, nice to see it's not lost its touch. And then the 119 of Rogers bringing up P4 in that Aston Martin. But this race should be very interesting to watch with this week's pit stop requirements. As, yeah, in Night Owl Season 4, we are changing it up each race.
Yes, we sure are. And we don't know what the requirements are. Well, actually, I do know what the requirements are in full disclosure, but can't tell anybody. And nobody is supposed to know what the requirements are until the race goes live, or actually just a little bit before that, in fact, when it's announced. Well, each week we are changing it up, and the pit stop requirements this week are, well, there aren't any. You do not have to make a mandatory pit stop. For the very first time in Night Owl history, there will not be a mandatory pit stop, and that is going to change the strategy dramatically, Ryan.
Yeah, that is going to change the strategy for a lot of cars around here. I mean, especially cars such as the Mercedes. That is probably one of the most thirsty cars on the grid is the Mercedes, which will mean you'll have to run map 2. It changes the handling characteristics of the car hugely on full fuel. And with the length of the pit lane at Spa, sometimes in these races, it is still the fastest strategy is to go short, to underfuel the car and go for it and take a pit stop even if there's no requirement one. But with that pit lane at Spa, it's over a minute for just to do a drive-through. So it just makes no sense. But it means that the cars like the Bentley, Ferraris, all the others sort of that are quite the endurance car, they'll really come into play today here.
Well, for some of you in chat, it's been a very long day here on RCI TV. We thank you for your continued support. And Vonta Blue brings up a very interesting thing. We're actually talking about this just before we went live today, talking about the two Jasons, or the Sons and the Sonwa. And they're on a team together. They're on the Peepo Clown team, who's currently leading the team championship. Of course, the 199 won the opening round of the season. And Ryan and I suspect that it is another driver in disguise, perhaps a well-known driver in disguise. And we both have our guesses on who it might be.
Yeah, we've got the guesses, but it's hard to tell because sometimes you think, oh, it's definitely this person with a pace, and then you see them in the YouTube chat while that car's racing. It's like, well, it can't be them unless they're very good with the one-handed texting while driving. But yeah, it's kind of like a Stig moment in it from Top Gear. It's like, it's not Harry Spears, but it's Harry Spears' cousin, stuff like that.
Well, we're not entirely sure who it is. I actually tried to cheat and look at the sign-up sheet for who it is, but for whatever reason, the current sign-up sheets that we use do not have the Discord ID attached. It used to have the ID attached. It does not for the current spreadsheet. So I'm not able to deduce in that way. I'm pretty sure if I dug a little bit more into the actual sign-ups, I might be able to figure that out. But completely thrown last week. Ryan, you said you had your suspicions, but I didn't. I just assumed it was a driver, a really good driver, mind you, that I had never heard of before, but that is definitely not the case at this point. I think it's very obvious that it's somebody out here running under a pseudonym, but all interesting and mysterious nonetheless. Qualifying underway here at Spa. Weather couldn't be more perfect. 22 degrees C, a light breeze moving across the track in an easterly direction. Partly cloudy, but other than that, track is optimum. A lot better than it started out for the 4-hour race we did earlier. And, well, it's all about finding space. Shouldn't be too difficult here, but there are a lot of cars with Pro and High Silver grouped into the same championship this year, or the same race, I should say.
Yes, 33 cars still with attendance at Spa today. I believe we had 34 at Bathurst, so yeah, still really, really high numbers for this season of Night Owl. And yeah, it's a long track, nice to get some space. And the best part for these drivers is seeing that lovely track optimum. It's just so much nicer at Spa when you've got, a lovely grippy surface under you. And the temperatures you're not having the tires just baked and the engine strangled with just no oxygen.
Qualifying just underway. A long way around here. Important in a 15-minute session to get a banker lap down as quickly and as proficiently as possible. And the last few stragglers coming out of the pit lane now to start their lap, or their out lap, I should say. And now some of the early risers that were out of pit lane now making their way around the back half of the circuit to start their lap. The 24 of Benjamin Heilman will be the first car to start a timed lap here today. Of course, Benjamin Heilman is second in the High Silver Championship after one round. Had an excellent showing at Bathurst last weekend.
Yes, and Bathurst was sort of a track that we said, oh, the Porsche maybe not its strongest track is Bathurst. Lots of long straights. Porsche kind of suffers with straight line speed. and that didn't really phase Heilman. Yeah, doing amazingly in his class. So see if he can pull it off today. I mean, once again, Spa is a track of two tails. Really, you have Sector 1 coming into Sector 2 is very much a speed section. The run out of Les Combes, up Eau Rouge, and all the way up the Kemmel, because the one thing you never realize when you are actually driving ACC, or less so, when you stand at the top of Kemmel in real life, it is a big hill. And I can confirm that, having had to walk from the bottom to the top of it. It's very, very tiring. And then you charge back down the hill like this corner with Brussels. And so the Porsche will lose out in Sector 1. But after this, going through Pouon and Piff Paff, all these corners and going back up to the start line, it really, really comes into its own.
Well, I have an update on the Jordan Sanois sort of thing. I've looked up their Discord. I was able to locate who they are, but it would appear as if they are a known driver, they have created a completely different Discord, as you theorized earlier before we went on air, Ryan. So that's very interesting. I was hoping to find something out, but it doesn't link back to a common name or anything that I would see. And in fact, they have never posted, which leads me to believe that it is somebody with a second Discord name. I guess some things are going to have to stay a mystery. Hopefully at the end of the season, we can have like a reveal, I would hope. That'd be pretty nice.
It's like a Scooby-Doo like mystery thing. We're going to pull the mask off and be like, it was you all along.
Old man Jenkins, it was you all along?
And I would have got away with it, wouldn't you pesky commentators?
There it is. But mystery aside, the 199 won the race a week ago. Sanois did a great job of managing the race and a well-deserved victory for the 199. Can't say so much about their teammate of Sons, though. Did not go their way in the 93. They're looking for a bit of a recovery drive here today, but here is the early benchmark. Benjamin Heilman ran a 218, and now Sons, with that recovery, they're hoping to make a 217.451. I dare say, I don't think that is quite quick enough for Pro to take the pole, but it is good enough for right now, as Jason Tyler LaValle goes second, 4/10 slower, and Chad Dillon, was about a 10th off of that pace. So I don't think we're going to end there. I think we might see a 17-1, or dare I say a 16-9.
Yeah, you may dare say that. I mean, if it was going to be a car to do it, it would be sort of one of the Audis or the Mercedes. The Audi was incredibly paced around here. It has suffered a little bit in prior BOP updates. It's no longer the sort of the absolute crazy 15-second car that it used to be able to, but it's still one hell of a mean feat to do. Connor Galbraith takes provisional pole in the silver category, 7/10 off the leader. So that's time for Heilman to play catch up on that. And the rest of the silver field all sort of filtering in. Very close if you look. We've only a couple of attempts between cars as well. So I'm expecting a usual sort of quite compact battle in the silver class. Sanois, and there you go. 16.917 by Sanois.
Well, the Peepo Clown team, who are running the 199 to 93, keep in mind there is a team championship. That would be, they're already leading that championship, but a 1-2 would be extra nice here, nice and early, get a lead in the series. And what I was going to say about Galbraith is they weren't here for race number 1, so this is their debut, and for a very short time they were on pole. But Benjamin Heilman has went ahead and smashed that and went all the way up into third, knocked down to fourth by LaValle just now. But 8/10 off the overall pace is Benjamin Heilman, but still a very fast lap indeed, a 1:17. And that will be the mark to beat as Audi goes to second place in silver in the 690, an 18.183. Will have to come several seconds, or several tenths quicker, I should say, if they want to trouble Heilman for first place in silver. Heilman down to fifth now, as Alari has went up to third in the 899 Aston Martin. Kyle Alari getting it done here early in qualifying. Half the session left to go. We're seeing quicker and quicker laps. That 16.9 does not look safe.
No, there's people closing in on that, and as it says, the Audi, one of the great cars at Spa, but the Aston Martin is nothing to shake a stick at with that sort of front engine stability. Ryan Renoir just about improving as well, moves him up into the fourth place, 7/10 off overall. But yeah, people are really closing in on that. The other thing is that it won't surprise me if the track is getting slightly better. I mean, I know we in ACC we have green, fast, and optimum, as everyone knows, but there are ranges of optimum. So I think that the track might be getting that little bit quicker. Sone's just about creeping into his teammate as well. Only 5 tenths behind now.
Yes, indeed. And this lap, hoping to go a bit quicker still in the 93 as Alari in pit lane. I saw after Heilman retook pole for silver, he was in pit lane, but very quickly out again as well. You can't afford to lose time. Here in qualifying, you have to get everything you can. The only way to do that is to spend as much time on the track as you can. What does the 93 have, if anything, for their teammate? Can't quite get there, still 2/10 off the pace, but a 17.124, not shabby at all. And Sonwa has gone quicker, a 16.872 now, the new benchmark.
Yeah, that Audi is absolutely flying around here. I mean, as we says, it is an incredibly strong car in qualifying, but with tonight's pit stop requirements, they very much could change these cars, how they behave in the race on absolutely brimmed tanks of fuel. We have a McLaren having a small spin on the infield. But if you have a problem like that, you really got to pick yourself up and get going, because this is the other problem at Spa. There's only a sort of a finite number of times you can have an invalid lap, because you've got to get out of the pits, and the out lap is, another 2-minute lap. So yeah, if you've had a couple of problems or you've had your tire pressure set wrong or such, you can very quickly find yourself having burned 7 minutes of your qualifying and not even set a lap.
Yeah, it's one of the very few tracks in the world where it takes you about 7 minutes to run one timed lap. It just is how it is around here. And if you are lucky and you do use the pit boxes on the GT side of things, it's considerably less. But if you're using the F1 paddock, it is a real pain in the rear end, because it eats up a minute of your time just getting out pit lane. And then you think another 2.5 minutes to get around, and then another 2 minutes 16 or whatever. That's I'm not a mathematician or anything, but I just play one on the internet. But it's better part of 6.5 7 minutes that you've absolutely done nothing in but set one lap. And 7 plus 7 15, and that is the exact amount of time that you have. So resetting to pit lane is a luxury that you can't afford if you are having issues. Well, Sonwa has gone faster still, a 16.698, the new benchmark, the mark to beat, as Sons in the 93, I believe, has also gone a bit quicker. Renoir up in third. Conway sneaks their way into fifth. And here is Tyler Jason LaValle, Team PSR, and they will improve to third place. The 81 Audi retakes the third place from Renoir. And by the way, Alex Rogers, the powered by Instant Coffee Aston 119, has overtaken Benjamin Heilman for pole and silver now.
Yeah, that Aston's starting to come on strong, it seems. And looking just about, though, Benjamin Heilman might have something to say about that. He is trending up hugely. I mean, we're 0.8 of a second so far, looking at his delta. Rogers is just about holding time, but we should have, for all of these drivers, at least the ones crossing the line now, you still have about another lap to go. So yeah, I think the last laps, looking at how the track is evolving, I think the last laps are going to be some of the fastest. It does look like there are some people have sort of resigned their laps and called it good. I mean, Sonnois in the pits, and so is Lavalley and Renoir.
By the way, chat calling me out for 7 plus 7 equaling 15. What I know I know it's 14, but the point I'm making is that you're wasting a minute, so it doesn't it's sort of irrelevant. What I should have said had I been a smarter individual is 7 plus 7 is 14, but you only have 15 minutes left. That's not how my brain works. That's not what I said, and I didn't realize how brown Heilman's car was. That car is you've heard of 50 Shades of Gray. That's like 5 shades of brown.
Yeah, it's a very interesting color. And I think that was, sadly, that was an invalid lap for Heilman, so no improvement there. But we'll see what they can do. Once again, Alex Rogers, provisional pole in silver.
Well, Sonnois in the pit lane, done for this qualifying session. So is Tyler Jason Lavalley and Renoir. Only Sons on the top 5 and Harry Conway out there trying to make better time in the top 5. Can anybody get up there and get a piece of it? Samir Foch is going to try here in the number 8 Lamborghini. Looking good so far. What can they muster as they come to the line? Good enough for 14th place. An improvement of 17.8 is only good enough for about 14th, if that tells you the speed of this field.
Yeah, and while we've briefly looked away, looking at what's happening down the field, we notice we've had a change up for pole in silver. Now this is Chris, is it Vinning? I'm going to pronounce that? Chris Vinning in the 101 GTR has taken provisional pole for that, which I believe it was a 17. Yeah, a 217.514.
I don't mean to correct you, Ryan, but that's a YTR today. He's racing for YTR in the 101. I love it. I love some of the names. That's almost a very British patriotic paint scheme as well. Very close.
Yeah, it's almost there, isn't it, on the Japanese car? But it looks like as well they are still improving. Just at looking on the lap time, so we'll see what they can do for provisional silver, or if anyone else can attest that to them. IPEC coming up to the line in the 224 Mercedes. Pick the highest Mercedes so far. We'll see what they can do coming up to the line. And that will put them up to P5.
That was an absolutely stellar lap from IPEC there to get themselves inside the top 5. And I don't think, no, there are a couple of extra bullets in the gun. What can Chris Vining do here? 8th place currently coming to the line. Will they improve? Yes, they will. 4th place for the Chris Vining in the 101, a 17.262. Takes them inside the top 5 as a silver, but Rogers is leading the way for silver. What can Alari do? No better than 9th. Will not improve. 2/10 off the pace as Rogers looks to have the pole in silver. One of the last cars on the track still, Joshua Devonshire. Well, Devonshire's going to, if you're done, Ryan Mawson, with Spa for the day, what is Joshua Devonshire going to feel like?
Yeah, I mean, that race was very interesting. We've basically swapped my car for his. He's given him the keys. You can have the Bentley because I couldn't do it. And that last lap was an improvement. Moves him up to 21st, just in front of Sebastian Brunier as well.
Now that is a very bright McLaren there of Stefano Plebani. That is about as bright as you can make it. But I don't. How is he? No, he has completed his lap, indeed. Yes. For a second there, I was very confused. Final few cars coming along. It takes a very long time, and Howells is going to settle in to 32nd place. Well, there you have it. There is all of your starting grid for the race, and we will bring you the grid or the grid walk, if you will, the traditional way we start the race. But for right now, we've had one round at Bathurst. Just going to show you the championship points after one round in Night Owl Season 4, starting with the pros. Sunwa is leading them all, won the race at Bathurst, 72 points. Also had the fastest lap and the pole, which is bonus points in Night Owl. Chad Dillon, second place in the 77 Lamborghini with 58. Harry Conway rounds out the overall podium with 53. Behind them, Tyler Jason LaValle, Brian Knappen, Samir Foch, Atakan Akar, Levent Ipek, Jordan Sones, who we talked about did not have the best race. And then Gabriel Rodriguez is the top 10. And of course, you can assume after one round that all of these points are related to where they finished. And Ben Litherland in 11th place. Ryan Renoir with the 1 point. Mia Swenson, Jelinek, Young, and Alari did not make round one, but I think all of them except Jelinek are here today, but Jelinek may be here, but I did not see them. And that is your 16 pro drivers. Moving on to silver. This is high silver. And Alex Rogers won in silver last week, 69 points. That is because he had the pole position, but not the fastest lap. Benjamin Heilman finished second. He's got 58. And Sebastian Brunier in the 777 finished third. An excellent job and has 53 points. Behind him, Ben Norton on 48. James Leader with 44 rounds out the top five. Thomas Pierce on 40. Mike Jones, we know that guy, with 38. Michael Fazal with 37 points. Nathaniel McConnell with 34. And Joshua Devonshire round out the top 10 with 31. And here are the back half of the high silver class. Jordan Daly, 28. Herzog, 25. Anderson, 21. Baumeister, 20. Flamger, 19. Topher, 15. Plabani, 14. Ted Edwards, Vining, and Rob Jackson all have 1 point after round one. And I think there might be some more, and indeed there are. Audi with 1 point, and Galbraith and Howes, who did not make round one, have no points. But they are here today. And, well, that's the championship points, but that's also how they finished the first round. And today is going to very much shake that up. Ryan Mawson, comers and goers in a championship. Who do you think is going to trend to the right direction in this one?
Oh, it's such a hard to say, especially with this race, with the pit stop requirements. I think it will really start to shake the field up. But I would say that the Audis of Renoir, obviously, Sones and all that, they're going to be one to watch. I think they're going to have a good start to the season. Silver class though is it's so hard to call because I mean we just looking on the standings there, everyone is so close, and we saw it last year in Night Owl where me and you were sat with a pen and paper and some calculators trying to work out who is where and what is going on. It was manic right up until the last moment. So yeah, I think the easiest way to say is nothing is over until it's over. I mean, we have two silver drivers sat in P3, P4.
Yes, indeed. And a few corrections. Mike Jones has humorously mentioned to me that there's three classes in this race. There's not, folks, by the way, but to Mike Jones there are. There's also the pleb class, and it's he included himself in it, and it's very humorous indeed. And to Tomas Jelinek, by the way, he says, I'm hurt that the commentators didn't see me last week. That's my apologies, Jelinek, that we maybe missed you in that race. I I don't recall that happening. So if that is erroneous, then very much apologize for that. And we definitely know that you're here this week. For me, my biggest point of the race here is going to be very simple. If you're Seb Brunier, you had a fantastic race, and you have to keep that up. You have to stay in championship hunt and the championship contention, and he is going to have to pass a lot of cars to do that today, starting 22nd and not even in the top 5 in his class.
Yes, it's a long old mountain to climb, but I mean, weirder things have happened at Spa. It's a track that is sort of similar to Bathurst in the sense that if you make a mistake, it's generally a big one. You know, we've seen drivers go off at Eau Rouge, and I can confirm that going off at Eau Rouge is generally a fair old smash. And yeah, especially then with the pit stop requirements, it will not surprise me to see a couple of drivers who have struggled with the strategy because you've really got to think of how it's going to go before before you've even driven or hit drive, because I mean it's now what, 20C, you've got no wind and a little bit of cloud, so you would be thinking it probably won't heat up much. It's 10 a.m. currently, but if those clouds disappear, which they could well do in that next half an hour, if the clouds disappear, it'll start to really heat the track up. Then your tire pressures go up, you start losing lap time. If you grain them, if you have any kind of incidents, it just throws everything completely into an abyss. And as we says, a lot of cars that if they just want to run absolute full no hour, no stop in the hour, you've got to run full fuel on a lot of these cars. So it really changes the handling, and we'll see what cars are good in the race pace and what cars were maybe rapid in qualifying but lack a little bit of sharpness when you fill them full of fuel.
Well, here is your starting grid for Night Owl Season 4 Race 2 here at Spa. The Pro and High Silver classes for you tonight. Jordan Sonwa will lead everybody to the green flag today, just like he did a week ago, but he will share the front row with his teammate Jordan Sones here, both racing for the Peepo Clown Esports team. Well, second row is a couple of silver drivers. Alex Rogers and Chris Vining will line up in that row, fighting it out for silver supremacy. And just behind them, Tyler Jason LaValle and Levin Ipek. And then Ryan Renoir and Harry Conway. And rounding out the top 10, Carl Alari and Gabriel Rodriguez. Of course, behind them, we have Galbraith, Dylan Heilman, Akar, and Foch will be your top 15. Pierce, Bowmaster, Audie, Norton, and Faisal will be the top 20. Behind them, Devonshire, Brunier, Swinson, Flamger, Labani, Jelinek, Daly, McConnell, Edwards, Jones, Leader, Howes, and Anderson. 33 cars in 2 different classes. Or if you're Mike Jones, you think there's 3 classes. Do we tell him there's not 3 classes?
Well, it would make him feel a little bit better if he thinks that there's a third class. Maybe we should just let him have that one for to keep a smile on the man's face.
But I know how Mike Jones was raised. He was not given a participation ribbon, so I'm not sure why he's making a third class. Very interesting. Be interested to know, as far as the third class that he's made called pleb class, if the people that he's inferred are in that class actually know that they're competing in such a class. For those of you that wish to meet Mike Jones in the parking lot after the race, I know what car he's driving, so just text me and I'll get back to you. But anyway, 1 hour race starting just after 10 a.m. It'll be about 10:10 in the morning. Partly cloudy skies. Track is optimum 20 degrees C and no wind really to speak of, as everybody is frantically trying to get into the correct line to start the race. And keep in mind, they use the GT starting grid here. They use the F1 timing for qualifying, but the GT starting grid. So this is not the start of the race. They got one more turn to go. Ryan Mawson, tensions are up there. If you had a great race for round 1, you have to defend it, but a lot of people didn't, and you know that you have opportunity here to make up a lot of spots. But rule number one, you got to survive lap number one, Eau Rouge Radillon Kemmel Straight. It's easier said than done.
Absolutely, yeah. Especially with some of these drivers who had an amazing start to their season. Yeah, you don't want to throw any of that away. And yeah, to some of the drivers who had a less brilliant start to the season, this will be their sort of comeback. We do have that one drop round, but you always want to be back in it for the points. Down to the line we go. When will the lights change? And there we go, green flag. We are underway racing.
Underway, and Sunwa gets the jump. It's almost like Sons let him get in there a little bit, but potentially could be a danger move here as Sons is going to go right outside of the Kemmel Straight. It's going to be a fairly clean startup Eau Rouge and Radillon, and down the Kemmel Straight. No accidents, no yellow flags to speak of. Perhaps a few minor fender benders. Defensive line for Sunwa down the inside, and he's going to fall back into the position to get the correct run through the corner as they're all single file till about 5th or 6th place, where they are side by side, and it's looking very good indeed still for the first half of a lap, but that could be a false positive of things to come. You never are quite sure if you are clear or not, but still they remain clean through, and the 199 now all of a sudden starting to pull a gap.
Yeah, we saw this car do a very similar thing at Bathurst, sort of immediately got free of the traffic and started running away. And yeah, miraculously clean start. Oh, we have a couple of people going wide at Pouon. I think that is the Aston Martin, the 54? That might be.
It was Galbraith, yeah.
So that was P3 in silver, having a small drop. You got to heat the tires up slowly. These are the 2020 tires, the 2020 tire compound. They really don't like being pushed on super early, hard at the start of the race. You've got to bring them in gently if you want to make them last. And with no pit stop requirements, that will be a number one concern for a lot of these drivers. If you grain them in the first couple of laps, you can just kiss your pace goodbye for the rest of the hour.
I'm being told that I think Foch got murdered already in the race. We'll have to check in on that and see if that is the case. But considering I don't see him on the timing screen, I think that might be true. But there is the number 8. And don't know exactly what happened, but basically we're gonna assume that something untoward has happened to that particular car, and that's why they are that far back. Saw the 59 have a bit of an issue as well, and more issues. The 197 in the chicane. There it is. That's Jordan Daly in the 197. For the other half of Crest Pro Health. And was that teammates coming together, perhaps? Mike Jones and Daly.
It looks like it. The two Crest Pro Health cars having a bit of a bump off one another. Both managed to keep it going though.
They're gonna need more than Crest Pro Health. They're gonna need some sort of psychiatrist or something, because that is not good for team relations. You don't want to hit anybody out there. You really don't want to hit your teammate though.
Yeah, maybe the next sponsor they might have to look at getting a Bondo sponsor. Then you can fix the damage.
I didn't have anything better than that, so I think we're gonna go with that one. That was spot on. Well, clean running for Sonhua out front of Sons. 199 leading the 93, and the battle behind them is fairly close indeed, as the top 4 or 5 cars are all sort of around the same distance from each other, as Rogers continues to lead in silver over Vining. Looking good so far for silver to potentially snag an overall podium. There's no points in that, by the way. It is just for bragging rights, and there's nothing that says a silver driver cannot race and beat a pro driver. There's no blue flags if you are on the same lap, and blue flags, of course, do not mean the same thing in GT racing that they mean in F1 anyway.
Yeah, blue flags around here mean there is a faster car approaching you, but hold your line, and it is up to the faster car going around you. And we see everyone sort of starting to bunch up into the bus stop. Is this a move around the outside for a car? wasn't there, but he's trying to do the cutback while also trying to keep the door closed for Heilmann behind them. And that is Rodriguez in front, Porsche in front, Porsche behind, BMW speed in the middle. But you can just see how much the Porsches are better on the brakes, really sort of sandwiching that BMW. But now we get to the straight coming up Eau Rouge. Potential for this BM to monster the Porsches in a straight line if they can get the run up Eau Rouge and keep it over Radion.
Oh no, it's going to be a big moment for Akar. He's going to go hard to the wall. The 54, who was already damaged, is going to get a piece, and cars continue to spin. And was that the 12 or the 690? Was that Norton or Audi who went spinning wildly at the top of Radion and is now stopped in the Kimmel Straight? But this right there, we saw this earlier today. You get too much curve in Eau Rouge. It completely unsettles the car. The 54 is involved. The 32 is involved. And there was a crashed Bentley. Now, is that the 12? I suspect it might be.
I think it is the 12. It's one of the yellow Norton cars anyway. But yeah, that was just a small inside curb. As soon as you touch that inside curb, it is just killer. And that will chuck you, it will eat you and spit you out. But a really sad moment for Akar. Looks like, though, that they have towed to pit, hopefully to get the car fixed and back out.
Well, you never know. Everybody gets one drop round. Their worst finish of the season will be omitted from the final points standings, or as I like to call it, a mulligan. A lot of these drivers used up their mulligan in week one, and even still, if you didn't, you don't want to be using it up here. You would like to have that in your pocket for as long as you possibly can. And for the 54, who at one point was third in silver, it has gone from bad to worse. As they had, what I was going to comment on, I saw Heilmann was past him, and so was Basil. I was going to say that good job to Heilmann, and that it hadn't gone the 54's way, and now it really hasn't. Just a bystander that got involved there, Ryan. I think it's just an accident. It was unavoidable at that point. You can't see over the top of the crest of the hill in Radion, and it just came on undone for several guys there. It's atypical here, really.
Sadly is, especially with the nature of Eau Rouge. Yeah, you come over that hill, you're already committed. It's very hard to change the direction of the car once you've committed to Eau Rouge. And yeah, you come across the crest, and there's a car sat there. There's pretty much nothing you can do apart from attempt to avoid and pray. And there's the battle's heating up between Dillon and Conway.
Oh, they're hot already. Chad Dillon is not happy with how Harry Conway was sort of blocking him and kind of forcing him to go to the widest part of the track. And Harry Conway is not the kind of guy that is going to give you a spot just because you beat him in one corner. He is going to make you work for it. Fair, but also very, very tough indeed. Talked about Benjamin Heilmann not being exactly where we expected him to be. Well, he's third in class. Seb Bernier has made up several spots on the start. He is down in 6th place in class. He finished third in the first round, mind you, but he is up to 6th. I think you started around 8th, 8th or 9th. So either way, has gained several spots, and this is exactly what the Frenchman needed.
Yeah, with the good drive at Bathurst, and it's sort of. We always see this from Seb, though. If you notice, he always maybe qualifying sometimes is not his strong suit, but then he just does so well in the race. You don't really see him. It's just the race is going on, and suddenly, oh, Sebastian's third. Like, oh, where did Sebastian come from? But partly benefiting as well from that earlier crash, and I believe, because I've seen him on the timing board now, it was not the 12 involved. The 12 was still going around, so it was Audi in the 690 that was sadly involved in that crash.
See, I couldn't determine in the melee who exactly got the worst of that. The 12 is indeed Norton still going around, and very similar position to where they were. He's actually being caught by Seb Brunier now, but yeah, it was the 690. The 690 was the one that got the worst part of that action. And unfortunately, they have went all the way basically to the back of the field with that damage, as you might expect. Meanwhile, we talked about Samir Fausch getting perhaps punted on the opening lap or getting involved in an incident one way or another. And they were all the way outside the top 20. They're back into the top 20 now. And this in-car cam provided by Nick Setnick here, showing you the move. A very big lunge around the outside. That move can work. Didn't in this case. But either way, Fauch very much looking to get 19th place back. Many positions that he can gain here. Very easy, Ryan, to lose your head in a situation like this, but you can't. You just got to focus on getting that next guy and getting the next guy and getting position back and going about it methodically. You can't rush it. You got to let it come to you.
Exactly, and even if you're sort of thinking in your head, you know, you've had a less than stellar start, and you know sometimes that, oh, I'm faster than this person. Yeah, you can't just let it rush. You've got to let the moment come to you, which is sort of a moment like this, because if these guys go too wide, McConnell defending his line, will that be the invitation for Foch to go round the outside of McConnell? Nothing there, but he runs wide, slightly. So is that the Lamborghini's turn? No, it is not. Not enough space there on the racetrack. So position gained for Flamger, up into 18th place, demoting the 23 of McConnell now down into the jaws of the number 8. And it looks like the number 8 actually did get a slightly better run coming up to Blanchemont.
Oh, this is dangerous here.
This could be a move into the bus stop. Difficult move, though.
Oh, Foch is going to send it. He's just going to lick the stamp here a little bit. He's just got to get in there, and he has done, and he's left room respectfully, has McConnell, but it will not come to anything here. Running a little bit wide did McConnell there. It's going to be the outside. It's going to be tough to do this. But Foch can make this move. I have seen this stick. If he's going to outbrake him quite like that, that might be all he needs in the run down to Eau Rouge. We'll see. And he won't even have to do that position gain. Samir Foch up into the 19th place position, and he restarts his chase on Flamger all over again.
Yeah, it's a good move around the outside. Like I said, coming into bus stop, it's often bus stop is you have to get the move done before you get into the chicane. It's very hard to go around the outside of someone in that chicane part. But yeah, through La Source, you can really get a good run on someone. So yep, Foch up into the 19th place, and he's not a million miles away from the next car in his class is Svensson in the 3. And they're not too far up the road, so we could see a battle in Pro heating up soon. Speaking of battles in Pro versus Silvers, this is Tyler Jason Lavallee, who's sort of just been pacing the 101 of Vining, probably getting a little bit bored of having his entire view blocked by the large, massive GTR.
Yeah, Tyler Jason Lavallee, a man that I often refer to as Jason Tyler Lavallee for reasons that my brain understands, but the rest of me doesn't. But he is very much Tyler Jason Lavallee. But either way, you asked in chat what is going on up front. Well, Nick Setnick is more than happy to oblige. Pretty much nothing at the very front. Jordan Sonwa is running away with it, much in the same fashion that they did a week ago. 3.5 seconds or a little bit more to Sons in the second place position in the 93. Rogers and Vining holding station. Vining's within a second of Rogers for the silver lead, but Tyler Jason Lavallee trying to get around Vining and then Rogers to hopefully be able to go up and catch the top 2. We'll have to see if that is indeed the case. And of course, Alex Rogers doing a fantastic job just sort of pacing Vining right now.
Yeah, currently neither of these are sort of pulling away from one another. They just sort of sat and the gap really hasn't changed much from the race start. But I kind of expect that, these cars now, with doing this full hour, all of these cars will have a heavy fuel load on them. So I think a lot of drivers are just sort of, there's no need to battle and potentially wreck your tires right now if you know that the person in front of you's got good pace and you're pulling away or making a good gap to the person behind you. There's sometimes no need to battle. Just, let the gap go and save your rubber, hope that they maybe try push to run away from you, and in the last, 20 minutes, half an hour, then you've got the advantage and you can go on the attack.
I mean, for those of you that are familiar with how Night Owl usually works, there is a mandatory pit stop, and you have to take 1 liter of fuel. Well, one of the twists for Night Owl, as there always is a season twist, is it is sort of randomized as IPEC is trying to make a pass here. Very dangerous, has to fall back in line. Renoir leaving no space, and IPEC unable to dive down the inside. Cooler heads prevail, but there is none for this race. There is no mandatory stop. That is the caveat this season, is that the pit stop requirement is random. This week, there is no pit stop requirement. So everybody here will not be, nobody should be making a pit stop. So that means that has thrown a monkey wrench into a lot of the normal strategy. And it's very normal to have certain cars run light fuel so that they come in, they maybe get an extra liter or two more than they need to get to the end, just so they're lighter at the start of the race. That's not an option here. You have to take care of your tires. Obviously, you usually don't change tires in an hour race anyway. But as Ryan and I were talking about before the race, some of these cars, the AMGs, for instance, are probably going to have to work a fuel strategy into this race to make it the entire hour anyway.
Yeah, I would expect that a lot of the AMGs, especially this one of IPEC that we can just about see in shot, I would say that they were probably running map 2 for at least maybe a quarter to half of this race, and then you would turn the wick up at the end when you're lower on fuel and you've got time to burn. Then this is Sons trying to go up the inside of Vining. Can be done around the outside of the first part of Les Combes. You then have the inside for the second half. But will Vining try the cutback coming into Brussels? He's looking at it. There was no move there, and you can't open the door
too. Driving by Vining.
You can't open the door too wide as well, though, because Ryan Renoir is all over the back as well. Maybe not a, this isn't class position, but it's, you give that pace to any racing driver, you open the door and they're going to go for it.
Well, I just love what Vining did there in the ETR. Not only did he yeet it up the outside trying to get that pass done, but he also was able to defend from Renoir behind, who has caught everybody up here. And that's lovely. You love to see stuff like that. You love to see moves like that. And I thought for sure he was going to leave the door open, was Vining, but he absolutely didn't, as LaValle is trying again to get up to maybe fight Sons and Sonnois up in front, but also Renoir trying to do the very same.
Yeah, everyone on this field.
Look at this.
You can really tell that Renoir wants it. Will he go for the dive into bus stop? He's looking it. The door has been left open.
Oh, this is a mess here. This could go very wrong. All end in tears. A bunch of cars all scattered around, and the bus stop doesn't come to any contact here. Excellent driving on display from the Pro and the High Silver, as we expect here. Chad Dillon trying to come through the field some more. Trying to work over Harry Conway. Already documented how hard Conway can be to pass sometimes. Look at this, cutting off the nose. Cutting off the nose of Dillon there, saying, nope, ain't happening.
Yeah, all these drivers, I mean, as you saw in the bus stop, you had Conway tried to go around the outside of IPEC, who is then being, under attack from Dillon, who's under attack from, Renoir and Vining. It's just all so close. And yeah, we're 20 minutes into this race so far. Nothing has really settled down. Still looking to the inside is Vining, but nothing as of yet.
Oh, it's going to be off the track there. Yeah, he is. Oh, it's all. Oh, contact there. That will make him go off the track there a little bit. Will Conway going right back on the attack.
And then that, once again, a bit like Vining had to do earlier, you have to attack, but you also somehow have to defend. You want to get round the person in front of you who knows that someone's have gone off the track, possibly a bit of dirty tyres. He wants that position, but if you leave the door open too wide, Dylan really looks like he will just snatch that position and possibly run away with it.
Yeah, Harry Conway, he attack, he protect, but mostly he stay on track, and you have to do that here. Vanter Blue humorously asking, can I donate for 70 kilo BOP on the 199? Unfortunately not, but that being said, Vanta, can I just say, I wouldn't mind that to be the caveat for Season 5. That'd be interesting.
Pay to donations to get balanced.
Yeah. How interesting would that be if we turn the whole series into a charity?
I mean, I wouldn't put it past Mike Jones.
I think this might be one time where here's how it works for those of you that may not be aware. Mike Jones comes to me or somebody else, whomever is commentating, broadcasting, and says, "Hear me out." It always starts like that. He goes, "Hear me out." As Ben Norton trying to make the pass on Fazel here, and easy peasy gets it done. Discretion, the better part of valor for Fazel. But all things said, the pass done. But here's how it normally works with Mike Jones. Mike Jones comes to whoever he suspects is going to be broadcasting and goes, "Hear me out," or "What do you think if?" And that either is a good thing or a bad thing. It either goes right or wrong. As, oh no, it's going to be Chris Vining's going to go around. He's going to lose it at the top of Radion and completely stuck in the Kimmel Straight. And it's going to be chaos. It's going to be melee behind him. Several cars in the Kimmel Straight have went hard into the wall behind him.
Oh, we saw this earlier, didn't we? I believe it's another. Yep, if you touch that top curb, it's just so easy to have the car snap on you. And that's it. Once you've hit the wall, you can't do anything. And the drivers coming over the brow have no idea what's going on.
Oh, that's Conway.
That's Conway. I believe that is. Was that the Aston Martin that was hit earlier as well?
That was the 54. Yeah, that was the 54, I'm pretty sure. Harry Conway involved.
Was the 24 of Heilman also involved? Yeah, damage to the
yes,
front of that car.
right, you are. That car very much damaged. Look how much slower it is now.
Yeah, that was a mighty pile up behind. Once again, just another one of those times where you come over the crest. I mean, even if you've got the warning of double yellow flag, if they just wave it that a little bit too late, you've already committed, and there's just a giant GTR sat in your way. I mean, where do you go? And through at least for 3-4 drivers, that has all come undone.
Well, for Heilman, that's not what you wanted. You were sitting in a fantastic championship position, and now all of a sudden you would have been second, would have been Heilman in silver here, which is pretty much what you want. You want to finish on the podium, and it has come undone, but it's also come undone for Chris Vining as well, running second previously. And it just didn't go his way. And for several drivers behind, a lot of pro drivers too, it sort of come undone there, as Mia Swenson making a very slick pass there and getting up into the 13th place position. As here is the tail of the tape, Heilman immediately into pit lane, and this is going to be a very long pit road, a very lonely pit road, and in a race where you shouldn't have to pit, you don't want to have to pit. I saw Harry Conway in pit road as well for damage. Absolute chaos.
Yeah, affecting a lot of drivers, sadly. But I mean, that's what is one person's sort of sadness is gains for another, and especially with this man, Sebastian Bruni, is slowly making it up. And I believe that was another spin from the 101. I think that's residual damage starting to kick in, coming up Eau Rouge, I would assume. I think the back end's just going to go.
Behind him, I think. Pretty much just the same thing, Ryan, just exactly the same thing.
Good avoidance from Brunier, though. I think this time a lot of drivers seen the wave double yellows and are immediately going left. They know that there's probably a car sat in the track now.
To Harry Conway and everybody else that piled up behind that, to their credit, they didn't have any clue. It is a blind corner, and they were single file, but it doesn't really matter because if you're as close as the 3 or 4 of them were to each other, you're not going to see a stranded car until it's too late. And the reaction they all made was to put it in the wall, because if you don't put it in the wall, you're going to hit Chris Vining. You don't want to do that. You don't want to hit another competitor. You don't want to hit any stricken car. So they ended up having to put it in the wall because they couldn't see, and they were so close together. And it's just very unfortunate. Well, this is the leader of the race, Jordan Sonwa, and he has dominated race 1. He's dominating race 2, 5.5 seconds over his teammate Jordan Sones in the 93. Sones is having an excellent rebound race after a 9th place finish on the Mount Panorama Bathurst. And what a day it would be for the Peepo Clown Esports team to go 1 and 2. And for Alex Rogers, who is completely unaware in the Powered by Instant Coffee Aston of what went on behind him. Last he knew, Chris Vining was behind him, and now Chris Vining is not even in the top 10 in silver. And he is all alone as Alex Rogers.
Yeah, just sometimes when you're watching the relative, you just see someone disappear and you think, oh, what's happened to them? Oh, they'll be back. But yeah, a lonely silver all the way up there. Sort of be a good race for them, though, it looks. Chaos falling behind them.
Well, we've mentioned this fellow a few times today. Welcome, Vanta Blue, to being a RCI TV supporter. Thank you very much for your support here. For those of you wondering, Vanta Blue hit the join button below the stream to become a supporter of the channel. We thank you very much. We hope that you enjoy your, I think we have emotes now. We definitely have the little marker thing. The I for international, because we are a inclusive international group. So we hope that you enjoy your supportership of the channel, and we definitely appreciate the support.
I like that theory as well that has just been posted in chat by Vanta Blue, saying that Sonwa is actually Geordie, could be Jordan Grant Smith.
But what? So here's the thing. They claim, according to their entry blank, that they're from Luxembourg.
That could just be one that they've picked, though, so that it's far enough away that we don't question it. It would be a little bit obvious if you also entered as a British driver, but it would also be a little bit odd if you entered, from like the Republic of Hawaii or something.
There's no such thing as the Republic of Hawaii. It's a state.
Is it? Well, today I learned.
Are you all right? You feeling all right?
It's that island over there. But yeah, maybe it's just so that we don't question it, you see.
I'm pretty sure that you're correct, but I do love the theory. And I have another theory too. There are a lot of silver drivers that are pitting. The 69 of Plebeian has come into the pit lane, and that has promoted Seb Brunier. As we watch Stefano Plebeian here for the BSG Racing team. Number 69. Gotta like that number. And here is Chris Vining, who is running second, literally on the tail of Rogers earlier in the ETR. Had a few yeets of his own, but not in the positive way after making several really good moves. Has found himself sort of in the thick of it. Now, what has happened to Gabriel Rodriguez? Now, that has all the hallmarks of a mechanical issue.
Yeah, I was going to say that just looks like a complete mechanical failure. Just disconnect.
That is definitely something mechanical wrong with the number 7 Porsche, because he's
Yeah.
just free rolling. He's not braking at all. And there he broke a little bit.
They are
But
still in
that's
control of the steering, but yeah, there's just no
Hmm.
acceleration going on.
Something amiss with that car. So they will go to the back. And back to Seb Brunier for a moment, talking about how he was in dire straits and needed to somehow dig deep and find something here. Well, now he's fourth, and everything I said's irrelevant. He's doing fine.
Yeah, but I mean, we keep seeing this from Seb, don't we? Never one that you can just sort of take your eye off, even if, as it says, he qualified way out of way out of his class's sort of podium, and you think, oh, that has got a mountain to climb for that car, but Seb just sort of gets his head down and continues on in the race, and yeah, he'll always end up. He always finds a way to magically worm his way up the field.
Well, Tom Bryant from RCI asking, he took his eyes off of Conway for a few minutes and something happened. Yeah, unfortunately, Vining was stuck in Radion, and he was racing a bunch of people, was Harry Conway, and they all went hard into the wall when the Kimmel Straight started, is what happened, Tom. Significant damage to the Lamborghini.
And we hadn't talked about it before, but that is our first of the day of a drive-through for track limits. That is one that ACC gives. It's not one that we give. And I mean, we had mentioned it before, but at Spa, it is very easy to do. You've got Eau Rouge, No Name at this corner coming out of the com. Plenty of places to pick up those track limits, and that is not what you want, especially at a track where it is probably the longest pit lane on the calendar.
Well, for me as Swenson, it is a unforced error that is going to cost them a minute or more. And I just feel like that's a problem that Mia has. She races well. She has a lot of pace, and I think her RCI career is dotted with pit road mistakes, not having the limiter on, not getting the right service done in pit road, drive-throughs, stuff like that, and it's just unfortunate. It does seem to happen quite often. Mia's a fantastic racer. She has all the right skills and knowledge to come out here and win races, but unfortunately, just some of the time, she just doesn't have the place to show it. And today, unfortunately, was threatening to get back inside the top 10 overall, but I don't think that's going to happen again. I think it's going to be another disappointing finish for the 3, not how they would want to start off their championship. But
Here we go with IPEC trying to look on the move at the back of the Ryan Renoir. Right tucked up behind. Maybe it's time for map 1 in that Mercedes. Looks like they've sort of picked their feet up a little bit. Renoir was sort of pacing them before, but can they do anything with the giant V8 engine down the straight? With the slipstream, it looks no. Lamborghini just about holds off for now. But yeah, coming out of Sector 3, it looks like each time, IPEC's just getting that little bit closer to Renoir.
As far as we know, Harry Conway isn't out of the race. He is parked in the pit lane as the 28 of Conway. They might be calling it for the day, so maybe. The 7 has left the race, by the way. So we can't confirm if that was internet issue or a mechanical issue, but one way or another, the 7 has exited the race. Several cars have pitted here for some sort of damages. Ted Edwards, Carl Alari, Benjamin Heilman, and Stefano Plebian have all come in, or Plebani, excuse me, have all come into the pit lane for service in between the laps of 7 and 11.
Yeah, so even though we've said that you don't have to take a pit stop. Sometimes that is just what you have to do, isn't it? Especially at Spa, the nature of the beast is very. You can pick up a lot of damage very quickly. But not for this man, for Jordan Sanois, just running away with it. I mean, look, you can barely see P2 in the background. We're gonna have to get a ask Nick if he's got a wider angle lens. We can get everyone in shot there. We'll have to get the extended zoom out to see P2.
Oh dear, it is. Look at the state of that. Just an absolute dominating affair for Sunwa in the first 2 rounds of this championship. For Levent Ipek, it is not too bad for him either, threatening 3rd place in the pro class. Let's ride on the bumper cam as he tries to get by Renoir.
A little bit of a wobble from the Lamborghini, which was just about giving the Mercedes the run, but can he hold it round the outside of Lecom? Still 2x2 going into the braking zone. Mercedes is deep on the brakes and does make it.
That's sort of what I expect from Renoir, though, to be honest. Very smart driver there. Didn't send it in too deep. Thought that, you know, if IPEC can send it in deep on the outside and make it stick, let him have it. It's sort of, I like that mentality. I kind of share that myself. It's, if they're willing to throw themselves at it, I probably don't want to be fighting them anyway. And, you know, still half a race to go. You don't really know what's going to happen, but you cannot overlook LaValle. And this is the state of the 28. They've been sitting there for about 5 laps now and continue to sit in the pit lane. And this is Tyler Jason LaValle in the 81, who is now turning his focus on Renoir in front to try and get the 5th place.
Yeah, it could have been that Jason LaValle has been sort of watching this battle up front, and yeah, not has really been. He had been under fire, nor has he had to attack anybody. But I have a feeling that a couple of these drivers have been doing that sort of as a strategic thing. They've been keeping on with their tires, you know, and they've been sort of carefully lapping around. Because yeah, now we're seeing the car, the 81 Audi of Jason LaValle, really catching back up to the back of Renoir. So I think this could be that. Yeah, maybe Renoir is losing a little bit of pace. As we says, I mean, he was running away from IPEC at the start of the race, and now the Mercedes leading this train. And we can't forget Dylan in the background, who was fighting with Harry Conway for quite a while. Obviously, Harry Conway retiring with that crash, but that has released Dylan into this train. They're sort of slowly pacing themselves up as well.
Well, this is Chris Vining. The reason for the aforementioned crash is a stranded Chris Vining who was not impacted by any of the drivers that had the incident, but of course themselves spun out and were sat at the top of Radeon for quite some time. Had 2 spins, in fact, before they got it all sorted out all the way back into 16th. It will be a massive recovery effort for them to get a few more places, as Leader is going to miss the corner there, trying to fight with McConnell, and Vining's going to get by Leader now.
Well, you said it, and it happened. They needed a position, they gained a position. So now it's up to them if they can catch up to McConnell. Was it me, or was there... I was going to say, was there a tiny bit of damage on Roger's car? But no, what it is, it's all the lovely road grime that's been splattered over the front of the cars now.
Well, I can tell you what is Rogers was within a second of Sons for about 2 laps, was actually gaining. And this lap, I don't know if there's maybe an issue with the 119 or the tires are somehow falling off here early, or perhaps fuel saving mode is initiated, but from inside a second to 1.4, net loss of about half a second on a single lap. And as we joined them, I think Nick was trying to point out to us that he was going wide. He actually did go wide in several corners, didn't he? So perhaps he got something wrong there. We'll have to see if he can continue to mount that challenge because he was catching Solms in second place.
Yeah, the last lap for Rogers was a 2:19.2, so it looks like at some point in that lap there was a little bit of a mistake. Last lap for Sones was an 18.8. So yeah, but when you look at the best laps for each driver, incredibly close. Sones is at a 2:18.555, and Rogers was a 2:18.564. So that is just over a hundredth of a second difference.
Well, folks, if you like GT racing, if you like esports, why not like and subscribe for more GT racing content? Most of our series have started up by now or will be starting up this week. Very exciting indeed. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss a single race. And also, RCI would like to thank all of its partners that make this race and every race possible. Race Department, AK Informatica, Raceface, Speed Labs, and Sim Racing GP. Thank you for everything you do to keep us on the track. More information about all of those great people in the description as well. And if you like GT racing and you want to get into racing, well, don't worry about that. We got you covered as well. Join our Discord in the description. Get started. We have racing classes from esports pros and aliens all the way down to brand new sim racers. And we'd love to have you. And all the information you need is in the description. I'm Jesse Lee. I'm here with Ryan Mawson. We got Nick Setnick bringing you the action on the cameras today, as per usual with Night Owl. We hope that wherever you are in the world, you're well and you are enjoying this broadcast. And, well, we'll be back with you on Monday for the Porsche event. I'm told there's 3 different kinds of Porsches: Porsche GT3, a Porsche Cup car, and a Porsche GT4 is the 3 classes in that race. And I think George is anchoring that. George G. Mac Smith, who was with us earlier for the 4-hour race that we did. Lovely to have him back after his little hiatus, and just love listening to him talk. Anybody from South Africa, I love listening to you talk. Your accent is absolutely beautiful. Moving right along for my love for George Smith, please get involved. We love to see new talent, a lot of new talent. Ryan, over the last year, we have spotted right here in Night Owl First. It's not really an entry series, but it is a series that I think builds confidence in people.
Yeah, really big field, big number of new names you have to sort of memorize now and note down. A couple of familiar faces, some who have been promoted themselves into pro, who started this series as silver drivers, last season, like Tyler Jason Lavalle. He was a silver last season in the Porsche, and he's now trying his hand in the pro field in the Audi. But,
Proper pro is Lavalle as well. I mean, you're absolutely right. He proved himself, and look at him now.
Yeah, had a really good drive in some of the seasons as well in the Porsche. I mean, winning Misano in the rain was just a really good drive. Ryan Wendra going a little bit wide there, trying to get back onto the back of IPEC. But, I mean, when we saw the move happen earlier, we thought that IPEC was perhaps just going to really run away with it, but he kind of hasn't so far.
Yeah, it is impressive. I was thinking that myself. I expected IPEC just to sort of leave them, but not to be, as Chris Vining continuing the march back to the front. This is really important because he's in the middle of a pack of silver drivers, and any points that he can make up here will show up at the end of the year. I can promise you that. And as bad as the race ended up in the middle stages for Vining in the Yeet TR 101 Nissan, well, it has not really been that terrible. And in fact, he's going to stand to be able to make up a few more places here. But he is going to have to get a bit of a move on here, as he will try to overtake McConnell for the 14th spot. And meanwhile, again, not missing anything out front, Sonois leading by about 10 seconds over Solms. Rogers is closing the gap back down onto the 93. But this the big pack here, the big movers at the about fifth place, or actually fourth place on back, all the way down to just about sixth, as they have not sorted it out amongst themselves. And I don't know about you, Ryan, but when I sit behind a car for too long, I get a bit twitchy.
Yeah, you know that you just end up sort of, you want that driver, you want that position, and yeah, just like this one, Baumeister closing right up to the back of Sebastian Brunier, using the Porsche brakes for that really strong brakes on that car. And yeah, Sebastian, I mean, as he says earlier, really good points so far for Sebastian, but it's not over yet. You got 15 minutes to hold off this Porsche. Both of them looking incredibly similar lap times, sort of with the last laps. Can the Porsche get around the McLaren? Porsche does struggle in a straight line, but it might just have enough having a toe down the Kemmel, and then see what he can do through the corners. That'll be an interesting one. Kind of like what's happening here with James Leader.
Ooh, that's dangerous.
Sort of had the slipstream up Eau Rouge. But can he get around the GTR? I mean, you can see he's pulled out of the slipstream and now is not really overly gaining on the GTR. He's still there. Gives them the space. And that is position gained back for James Leader after the earlier small mistake.
Oh, well, this is a position that Seb Bernier would very dearly like to have kept, but Luke Baumeister has taken the 11th place position from him and fourth in class, perhaps more importantly, and that is going to put Bernier back down to fifth. Those are literal points driving away. That being said, top five isn't the worst thing, but now with what looks like a slightly fading 777 McLaren, what can Flamger do to potentially help himself into a top five spot? We'll have to make sure we pay attention to the 2.2 second gap that there is between him and Bernier right now. Actually, it's a lot lower than that now because of the two of them having a bit of a battle. It's only 1.1 second between Bernier and Flamger, and now what started out as a terrible day went to a good day for Bernier, is now shifting back to losing a bunch of points.
Yeah, as we mentioned earlier, that could just be sort of the difference in cars and difference in tires. You know, it's still a long old time around this track. An hour on those tires. If you didn't look after them in the start, or you've had to battle someone fiercely, you know, you've been avoiding some of the collisions. You know, quick direction changes and wrenching at the wheel. All will help, as the Porsche has a little bit of a wobble coming out of Les Combes. Slightly compromises his run, but there's nothing really you can do going up to Eau Rouge. You just got to sort of tuck in behind the driver, try and get a better run through this corner than them. But it looks not. It looks like the 777 had dropped back ever so slightly.
It was actually interesting. I was listening to Seb's throttle there as he was going down into Eau Rouge. He actually had to let off the throttle because he was running down Baumeister in the 48. So he actually had to let off the throttle there on the straightaway, not even at the corner, and try to get a run through Radion, and it did not happen. And now looks what's happened. Flamger is fully there. He's going to try and go around the outside. I don't think it's going to work out here, but either way, Flamger in the 19 Ferrari, the Maniac Mavericks Ferrari, letting them know that I'm here. I would like a top five, please. So very interesting late in the race, 10 minutes and some change to go. Pretty warm, 23 degrees, no wind, and only partly cloudy. Could this potentially be a mood swing in the McLaren that is letting all these drivers catch up to him all of a sudden?
Yeah, it is a strange one. I mean, I haven't really driven the McLaren in sort of a long endurance setting, you know, where you're going full fuel and you're being harder on the tires, but it could just be that. It could just be a bit of tire fall off. You know, we've seen a couple of these drivers that have slowly, the pace has been sort of, you know, changing as the whole stint has gone on. as we expected when IPEC got by to just run away, but they haven't done. And then Remois has been sort of caught up slowly by Valle, and then they've kind of yo-yoed themselves. And yeah, it's very interesting. Timothy Flamger still trying to go around the outside of Brunier, but every single time you do try to go around the outside, you're putting yourselves on the marbles, which is just, there is no grip around there, and you do put yourself a little bit further back. So if Sebastian Brunier can keep up the defensive driving, that might just be what he is planning now. 10 minutes, would have around about 5 laps or just under 5 laps. And if you've managed to do an hour and keep them behind you, you'd be thinking, I could keep you behind for at least another couple of laps.
Well, the eagle-eyed among you will notice that Jordan Sons is now back to third place in the 93, and I can tell you why that happened. He ran a 2:27 his last lap, which tells me that he had some amount of dramas that lasted around 7 seconds. So not a crash, but certainly perhaps a off. And that has demoted him back to third. Alex Rogers now up into the second place position in the 119. So people in chat asking, should Alex Rogers be in the pro class? Well, the simple answer is probably not. And the long answer is his car is suited for certain tracks, and this is one of those tracks. Alex Rogers is a capable driver, and if he continues to do this well in this championship, then I feel like it's time to talk about Alex Rogers being a pro.
Yeah, there's always sort of the bigger picture that you have to look when you're looking at the driver's classification. A lot of the times as well, it's about consistency and about consistency over the season. I mean, as you says, if you go to a track where your car has a good balance of performance, it suits this track, it suits the environment that you've put it in, like we have today with the no pit stop, full fuel requirement, all that sort of jazz, then yes, the Aston Martin will do very well. But then they may be off the pace at the next track, where their car does not suit it. But we saw exactly that last year with people like Tyler Jason Lavallee. Did amazingly in the wet at Misano, which is a very, Porsche heavy track. It suits the Porsche, and the wet really helps that. And then they went pro. So yeah, it would be I'd say the 119 sort of gauge what their pace is over the season. If they absolutely run away with silver, then yeah, absolutely, they are a pro. But it's always about consistency and seeing what silvers can do. We've seen it plenty of times where silvers have proved us wrong and shown really what they can do. But then next week it's back to the usual suspects up front.
What is the difference between a pro and a silver? You might say, well, speed, of course. No, that is incorrect thinking. The difference between a pro and a silver is consistency.
Pretty much. Speaking of silvers, this battle still has not done. Jay Leader tucks right up underneath the AMG. He's going to go to the inside of McConnell. Can he outbrake that AMG coming into Les Combes? No, just gets the nose cut off. Trying to look for the cutback, but there's nothing to be had there. Getting around the big AMG, but you could tell that Porsche really wants that position.
Well, it's a great race here for the mid-pack in silver, and don't tell them they're in the middle of the pack. This might as well be for a class win, because every point is precious in a championship. Only 6 rounds in a typical RCI championship. Occasionally there's 8, but standard champs are about 6. This is no different than that. This is round 2 of 6, and everybody will get a round, their lowest scoring round, dropped from the championship results. And that is to promote the competitiveness, and you want to get every point you can. If you're having a good race, you want to make sure that you keep your points. And if you're just having an okay race, you want to try and rebound as good as you can, or get as many points as you can. So that is why you have people like Vining, who is fighting hard to get back up in front of the people that we were just seeing. And that's also why you have Flamger here, who really wants fifth from Seb, but it's been about 3 laps and it just hasn't happened yet. Meanwhile, Rogers in second place is, now this is very interesting. Is Rogers catching the leader, or has the leader made a mistake at some point?
Yeah, the last lap for the leader was a 2:20.7, which I mean is still no slouch lap, but it is slightly slower than the past lap times that he was doing. Last for Rogers is, as we can see, a 2:19.1. So yeah, there was a slight time erosion there. So perhaps the leaders just had a little bit of a wobble.
That gap is still coming down. It went down by about 3/10 in that last sector between Sonwa and Rogers.
Unless the leader could be fuel saving?
It's very possible. Again, we're uncharted territory here. We never had a night owl race where you didn't have to pit. So we don't really know exactly what is going on. Now let's see at the line here. Remember, it was 5. So I'm going to go with you, Ryan. I'm going to say that Sonwa is fuel saving, or is having to fuel save, as Baumeister has gotten themselves a drive-through penalty. That's good news for Seb, Flamger, McConnell, and and Leader and Vining. Oh my goodness, how far back is Baumeister going to fall?
Yeah, pretty much none of the silver classes really spread themselves out, had they? I mean, all the way down to P19 of Swenson. That is pretty much where things start to spread out. But what we've said before, with how long the pit lane is at Spa, and even though it will give you 3 laps to serve that drive-through penalty, you couldn't do it. You couldn't do it on the 3rd lap because we've not really even got 3 laps of the race left. As the Porsche peels away, serve their drive-through penalty, and that will unleash Sebastian again, hopefully to run away from Flamger. And we'll see what happens to the 48 when they come out. This is pretty much the bulk of the silver pack.
Oh, that's so devastating for Baumeister. Having such a great race in the 48, and now this is going to completely undo all of that. And literally the majority of the silver class are going to go through in a day that looked like a 4th place was on the cards. An excellent finish has completely come undone in the final 5 minutes of the race. And keep in mind, Night Owl is not live stewarded. It is stewarded post-race. So any penalties you see on the screen are given out by ACC. A drive-through typically means track limits violations, and a stop and go typically means speeding in the pit lane.
And the battle with the silver class, James leader still not settled, as McConnell back ahead once again using the AMG's power down the straight line. Porsche had a light wobble at the top of Eau Rouge, well, on top of Radion, excuse me, and that just allowed McConnell to get back in front. But I mean, we've seen this now quite numerous times. It's definitely not over for McConnell. He's got to hold that Porsche behind now if he really wants to hold on to that position. That is P7 in class, P7, P8. But as you said earlier, I mean, you could tell these guys that it's P1, P2. They'll still go for it.
So I've been doing some maths, and I'm not sure if Sonwa is playing with his food or he's actually having to save fuel. But that gap is coming down so much that if they get caught, I don't think they will. But I was going to say, if they get caught where there's an extra lap here, Rogers is going to catch Sonwa and probably pass him. But I don't think we're going to get stuck with an extra lap. I think they're going to come to the line fairly close together, probably by a second, maybe. But this is, I believe, the final lap of the race. So that I don't think that is going to happen. But that is Rogers in the background. And it's looking like another win for Peepo Clown Esports. and Jordan Sonwa, who we had never seen before in RCI, who mysteriously showed up, has a mysterious Discord name, has never talked in any of our chats. We assume Jordan Sonwa is a pseudonym for a well-known driver here, but we in the broadcast booth don't know who. And this is what has happened to Luke Baumeister in the PSR2 Porsche, all the way down to 19th. And what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, about 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. Ugh, outside the top 10 in silver.
Yeah, which is just such a shame for them. As he says, having a great race with getting past Flamger and Brunier and all that. And speaking of, oh, I thought that was a move given with James Leader, but no, the Mercedes going wide onto the gravel, well, onto the marbles, but Leader then having a small wobble. And as we says, we get to the line, and you were about right, Jesse. 1.3 seconds separated Roger from Sonwa.
Well, for Jordan Sonwa, it has been a perfect start of the season. 2 pole positions and 2 wins for the pro driver. For Pepe Clown Esports, it is just about the best start you could imagine. And what about Alex Rogers doing everything they can? Had they had one extra lap, who knows what could have happened? But he is going to win silver, is Rogers, in grand fashion today. Mark him down 2 for 2 as well. Sones will come home third. 2 Pepe Clown teammates on the podium. IPEC 4th, Renoir 5th, LaValle 6th, Dylan 7th. Norton and Fazel will round out the silver podium. 10th place will be Foch. And here is the pack behind them. Brunier 11th, McConnell. And here comes leader Vining, Flamger, and Daly, all to the line in that order. Excellent side-by-side finish for Vining and Flamger there at the end. Daly, Anderson, Swinson, Baumeister, Labani, Heilman, who, we forgot all about Heilman, who was having a great day, and they had that incident. To Alari, Edwards, Pierce, Jones, and Conway are the ones still left on track. And oh my goodness, a lot to digest from this race. Excellent strategy, I think, from Sonwa there, won in that race.
Yeah, and I mean, I've just noticed as well, I think something must have happened to the 19 right at the end as well, because they were right behind Sebastian Brunier, if you remember, was Flamger, battling them, and yeah, now they've lost. They lost it all the way down, look. They're behind
McConnell's
Vining.
behind him now.
So something happened also to the 19 right at the end. But I saw that car going very slow at the side of the track, so possibly another fuel problem. We've seen a couple of drivers caught out with their fuel strategy.
I'd say that is very well spotted indeed. Well, here are your results confirmed. Sonwa wins over Rogers and Sones. Rogers winning the silver class. Sones and IPEC rounding out the podium for pro. Norton and Fazel rounding out the podium for the silver class. And for certain drivers, it was a dream come true. If your name's Sonwa and Rogers, you did exactly what you wanted to do. 2 races, 2 wins. If you are chasing like Benjamin Heilman is in silver, it was a nightmare. But for Seb Brunier, I think he's going to be promoted to 2nd in silver class after that performance. So for a driver that started 9th in class today to finish 4th and take 2nd in the championship, I think that is a job well done. And what about the team championship? Well, Pepe Clown is absolutely running away with it. Go ahead and hit him with an easy clap for that one, because it has been absolutely insane from them. Ryan Mawson, final thoughts.
Final thoughts, what an absolute manic race. I mean, this is just sort of the norm that we expect in Night Owl, don't we? We always expect that, especially the silver pack, really shows us some great racing towards the end, and very interesting to see a couple of drivers that did get caught out on the fuel strategy, including the leader. We think slowing all the way down to the end, which had there been another lap, then they would have possibly lost the race, or lost the race lead. It would have been very interesting.
Yes, indeed. And folks, if you enjoy this sort of racing, we invite you to like, subscribe, hit that bell, and join us on Monday. More Porsche racing. It's the Porsche Cup cars, the Porsche GT3 car, and the Porsche GT4 all on the track at the same time. George G. Max Smith will be hosting you on that one. And of course, on Wednesday, the return of the bi weekly Diamond Drive Cup coming at you. I will be with you, and so will Thigh Highs for Nate on that one. And of course, on Thursday, the GT4 Season 2 series continues with George Smith and Sam. And on Friday, the return of the Friday GT Championship. Good old Mike Jones and myself in the booth for that. And then, of course, Night Owl on Saturday night. Back with you again, the same time and the same place. We hope to see you. And
I'm gonna interrupt that real quick, Jesse. No Night Owl stream next week, just so everybody's aware.
Are we not doing Night Owl?
RCI is going to be doing the broadcasting for the 24-hour Kyalami for Race Face, and as such, all of us will be on stint in the middle of the Night Owl race, unless a couple of the other guys manage to pick it up, which I don't think will happen this late. But there will likely not actually be a Night Owl stream next week.
Right. So Night Owl's going ahead, but without a stream next
Correct,
week.
yeah.
All right.
At NERBS.
Excellent. Well, in that case, RCI would like to thank all of its partners that help make this race and every race possible. Race Department, AK Informatica, Raceface, Speed Labs, and Sim Racing GP. More information about those great partners in the description. Well, I'm been Jesse Lee, and on behalf of Ryan Mawson and Nick Setnick and Mike Jones, apparently, we'd like to thank you for watching tonight's broadcast of Night Owl, and we will see you on Monday for more Porsche action. Have a great weekend and a great night. Stay safe. We'll see you then.
See you the next one.